Hello, Kami Henta. Welcome back to another video. A lot of you guys have asked me about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and if it's worth buying right now or just waiting it out or not getting it at all. And honestly, I can't just give you a straight up answer because first of all, I haven't even beaten the full game yet. I need to do the last saga, which is the Majin Buu saga. And I pretty much have played over 17 hours. I'm pretty sure I'm at like 18 hours. And I wanted to give you guys the rundown of what I like, what I dislike, and what you can expect from the game if you were to get it. So that way you can make a decision on your own whether to get it or not, okay? So let's start with the story mode. The story mode is actually very, very fun. However, it has one problem that has multiple layers. And I'm going to go through these layers one by one. So the one issue that I found with the story mode is that sometimes the story mode will kind of stop out of nowhere, okay? Instead of you progressing normally, they will give you some random fetch quest that you gotta do to progress the story mode. And here's where the layers come in. The fetch quests themselves, I don't like them, okay? I'll tell you guys that much. I don't like them. I'm okay with doing a few of them and that's it. I just don't find them satisfying to do. The issue with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot when it comes to this is that the layers start piling up. First of all, when you're doing a fetch quest, that means you're gonna probably have to travel around different hub worlds, which probably means more loading screens, which that's one of the layers of the problem, okay? Now, the other layer of that problem is that when you're fetching the items that you need for this fetch quest, you usually run into encounters with enemies. And what happens with that is it becomes very boring very quickly. Like it gets old fast. And usually these enemies, here's the other layer, these enemies are usually about the same level as you for the most part, at least from what I've seen. Every time you encounter these enemies, they usually are about the same level as you, meaning that even if you wanted to just get it over quickly, you can't. You have to actually fight it out, which wastes 2 or 3 minutes of your time. And that ends up kind of piling on when you have to do it over and over again. Now, fetch quests, like I said before, I don't like them, but they're not that big of a problem on their own. The biggest issue there is when you have to do the encounters, go through all the loading screens, and then of course, you have to actually look for the item itself. Usually they give you a general area where to look for, and that makes it that much stressful, and that creates the environment where there are enemies flying around and you can't just simply run away from them. You can, don't get me wrong. These encounters are completely avoidable if you were to just fly at full speed away from them. But the problem is, if you're looking for an item and they happen to be there by that area, you're gonna have to fight them in order to open up and give yourself room to look for the item and then grab it. So that's one of the biggest issues with the story mode that I had so far. Other than that, the story mode cutscenes, beautiful. The actual boss fights, wonderful. I know a lot of people were asking me if there's QTEs in the boss fights. No. What ends up happening is that boss fights have kind of like different quote-unquote phases that they have. They'll do like certain supers or whatnot when you do a certain amount of damage, and then you gotta have to maneuver around it in order to survive. The one caveat to this issue about the fetch quests in the story mode is that they don't really happen too often. When they do happen, you're probably gonna be bothered by it if you don't like fetch quests. But for the most part, it don't happen often. Alright, so let's move on to the gameplay itself. So the gameplay of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is very simple, very straightforward. If you wanted to find literally any game to compare it to, it would be Xenoverse, just because it's the closest thing to it. Obviously, it's another Dragon Ball game, and a lot of the ways you would do like transformations, the supers, everything is a lot alike. And that's the closest I can actually compare it to. And the gameplay, does it get stale? That's the one thing that people ask me a lot. Does it get stale? It does. At some point it does. But there's different ways to make it fun. For example, certain enemies, you can't just go out of your way and bum rush with combos. You have to be very tactical about how to approach them. You can't just go out of your way and spam key blasts. At least with specifically Android 20. When you fight Android 20, you can't just go in there and do combos randomly, because he'll grab you and then go into this cutscene where he takes your key and health away from you and then give it to himself. And you can't also just do random key blasts because he'll absorb that and heal himself. So the way you have to approach him is a little different. I had to cheese him, but for the most part, if you want to fight certain boss battles, you gotta figure out your own approach to fighting them. You can't just do circle, 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 circle all over again, even though that's gonna be mainly how you do damage. The skill tree system in this game does open up the combo system a little bit, you know, by adding more melee hits into the combo itself. So when you start the game, you have a very short combo. By the time that you level it up a little bit, you're gonna have a combo that does way more hits. When you do transformations, the combo changes a little bit. Like all that stuff matters, okay? The combos, they do get stale, don't get me wrong, because you're just pressing circle or you're holding one button to do a super attack, stuff like that. But for the most part, you're not gonna have too much of an issue with it when you're doing story mode. I think that when it'll get super stale, it'll be when you're doing random encounters and whatnot, exploring the world of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. There's this one mechanic in the game called Search, which allows you to essentially go into an awakening state. It's not a transformation, it just lets you go into an awakening state, and it allows you to essentially spam supers like repeatedly, one after another, in a chain of, and it's almost like a chain of supers that you can do. And it allows you to really cheese the game and make everything pretty much super easy. There are certain like little side missions you can do or training exercises where it's actually a little tougher than the story mode battles. And if you just want to go through them, you can simply just do that and cheese the entire fight, and you'll be all right. You'll pretty much be all right. But it's not a fun mechanic to use in that way, because you're pretty much just spamming to win, and it makes the gameplay even more stale than it needs to be. So maybe don't use that. Now let's talk about the side quests in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. A lot of them can make or break you depending on the interaction of the characters. Like if you go as Goku to meet Ader and he gives you a side quest, there's a little bit of an interaction there, as if they just been friends that haven't seen each other in a long time, which that is the case. And it's pretty dope to see. It's pretty dope to see. But the quests themselves are usually either a fetch quest, or you just have to fight baddies right then and there when you talk to the person that's giving you the quest. And that'll be it. It's nothing crazy. Usually you don't get anything that's special when it comes to the side quests. Of course, there could be some special side quests that I haven't just ran into, but for the most part, I've done a good few of them, and all of them had either been fetch quests, or you gotta fight like some enemies that are usually the skull robots, by the way, because the enemies around the hub worlds of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot are usually just the skull robots, the Red Ribbon Army robots, and then of course the Grunt Army soldiers from Frieza's force or whatever. Now, not really that exciting to fight. You can fight dinosaurs, and I use the term fighting very loosely, because all you really do is just spam ki blast at them and they'll die. I don't want to include them as enemies per se, because all you really do is you beat them in order to get like ingredients for food, right? It's not like an actual battle where you can use transformations and supers and do combos and whatnot. You literally just do ki blasts until they die. That's all you do. All right, so let's talk about this last thing, which is gonna be the exploration of the world of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. The exploration itself isn't anything too crazy. Obviously, you're gonna mainly be exploring around for either materials that you need, or you're gonna be exploring around for you to get the Dragon Balls, which you can gather all 7 and then make a wish. The wishes themselves are very basic. You can either wish for a certain boss that you already fought back to life and you can fight them again, or you can wish for rare items, or you can wish for more orbs. But for the exploration part of the game, you're mainly gonna be trying to get orbs, because that is what you need to get the skill tree going to what level you need to get it. Of course, you do need to do also training grounds, which allows you to essentially unlock newer super attacks, which then allow the skill tree system to evolve even further. But I will have to say that at some point the gameplay will get stale and you'll have to live with it or drop the game entirely. The main point of this game, in my opinion, is really just the story mode. Obviously the side quests are there for you to do them, and I plan on doing as many side quests as I can after I'm done streaming the game, or I might actually do individual streams for that itself. But my goal is to get the Platinum Trophy for this game, because I really do want that. I don't know what it is, but regardless of all the issues I have with this game, I think the positives outweigh the negatives, in my personal opinion. And if you guys think the same as well, you know, pick it up. That's all I can say. Pick it up. If you don't feel like it's something for you, that's fine. You know, just watch a stream, watch videos. That's also fine. I think that only you can really make the decision. And this was just kind of like my first impressions because I haven't been in the game. I'm 18 hours in, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it informative in any way possible. I did try my best to give you guys a rundown of what I truly feel about the game. And so far, I've been having fun with it, you know, aside from the negatives, like I mentioned. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna be out. Peace.